Hi everyone! Welcome to Baca's Arthuriana 2, a lesson based on Chapter 2 of the Romance of Arthur, Arthur in the Early Welsh Tradition. The previous episode was all about Arthur in the Latin Chronicles, which had us pretty squarely in England. But Arthur didn't only exist in England, and as we will see throughout this course, Wales is pretty important to Arthur, and also to some of the English kings who used Arthur to boost their own claims to the throne. Don't forget, history and mythology are super tied together when it comes to Arthur. Just like in the Chronicle tradition, Arthur exists in the Welsh tradition as an ideal warrior, and he is a folk tale hero by the 9th century. The reading assigned for today provides a variety of poems. Remember, these would have actually been written in medieval Welsh, not modernized English. On eCampus, you will be able to see some images of Welsh manuscripts, as well as a link to a really good video about the Book of Taliesin. There is also a map of the United Kingdom for those of you who are feeling a lack of spatial awareness and confused about how all the countries are separated, placed, etc. Let me backtrack for a second because I just mentioned the word manuscript, a term that is important to this class in terms of literary production, or the way the texts themselves were created and then recorded. These early texts, both the Latin chronicles and the Welsh poems, would have been handwritten on parchment. The Western world did not yet have the printing press, so everything was written by hand. That took time and materials. For example, ink had to be handmade, writing instruments had to be handmade, and parchment had to be handmade. Medieval scribes, the people who wrote things down, generally used a goosefeather quill that they made themselves. Parchment was made from whatever animal hide was available in bulk, so if there were a lot of cows in your area, you'd probably be using cow hide. But if there were a lot of pigs, you'd be using pigs, and so on. This whole process was really expensive and really time-consuming. So this is the reason that storytelling was such an oral tradition. They were told and retold aloud, and scribes would copy down the great or the important stories so that they could continue being told and retold. This is where the literary canon begins. But ask yourselves, who got to choose the stories that were written down? Who was literate and who had access to the materials to write them? If you were a peasant, you weren't writing things down, but you were probably listening to stories. And this oral tradition is how Arthur became a folkloric hero in the Welsh tradition.